Welcome back to the Real Life Runners Podcast, episode number 445. Kevin just completed the Long Haul 100 this past weekend, and today we are doing a very raw and real recap. We haven't even fully processed this yet together, so you're just going to hear us process it on real time, and there's definitely going to be some emotions that come up, so we're just going to let you in on all of it. So Kevin, I'm going to thank you in advance for being vulnerable and letting that come out, because I know that's not easy. So if you're ready, stay tuned. What's up, runners? Welcome back to the podcast. First of all, thank you to so many of you, hundreds of you that were following along on our Instagram story and sending us messages all day on Saturday. The service out in the state park was absolutely terrible, but some of those messages still did get through at some point. I couldn't respond to all of them, but we definitely saw them all the next day when we got back to the hotel, or I should say, that morning, I guess, when we got back to the hotel at 3 a.m., 3:30. So, Kevin, congratulations.
Thank you
on completing the long haul.
I like that it's episode 445 because I'm pretty sure that's how many hours I was out there wandering through the woods.
That's what it felt like.
It felt like about 445 hours.
Yeah. So thank you to all of you for all of the love and support that you sent both during the race and after the race. Today we are just going to get into it. Kevin and I haven't really talked much about this yet. We've done a little bit of talking since the race, but Kevin finished. We'll just give you maybe the numbers first. Shall we start with that?
I think you know the numbers better than I do,
Yeah.
But let's be honest, you do most of the talking on these anyway. So I finished 11th in the race.
11th place overall, which is amazing.
There's, 300-ish people that entered the race. I finished 11th.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, I finished
6th.
I ran just over 19 hours.
19 hours and 13 minutes.
So really long time.
It's a long time to be running.
I think I got lost on the last loop because every loop I came through was basically right at 16.7 like it was supposed to be, which means I was going to be at like 100 point, like just over when I got to the finish line, and I finished at almost 102. So I think I got lost on the last loop.
Yeah, maybe you weren't quite mentally all there.
It's very possible.
Yeah. So, yes, 11th overall, 1913. He did amazing. And I'm still in awe of him and all of the other people that are in this race. And I just want to make sure that we start with that, because this conversation is going to be a lot of the coaching conversation that we're going to have to figure out, okay, where did things not go the way that we wanted to, and what can we do? What lessons can we learn? But let's start off with some positives. How about we do that first? Let's start off with some positives, Kev. What are some of the positives that you can take away from this race?
My crew is amazing. That's a good one.
You're so sweet.
I made it across the finish line because at one point, I never really had the thought, I'm going to quit. I never got back to the car and was like, yep, let's just get in the car and leave.
Yeah.
There were times out on the trail that occurred to me. Mm-hmm. There were cots set up at aid station 2 that I was like, why don't I just lay down there? Maybe someone will drive me back to the car. I never made it back off of a loop and thought, I'm done. I was always like, all right, I got another lap in me. And eventually they added up and I crossed the finish line. So that was a big positive for me.
Yeah. I think anytime you can finish 100 miles, regardless of the way that you actually get to the finish line, that in and of itself is a win.
Yeah. You said I should write down some thoughts. And the first thing I wrote down is I was going so smooth for 40 miles and then it got so very hard for 60. And I don't think that's the ratio that you're aiming for.
No.
Like it got really hard, and there were some ups in those 60 miles, but in general, I'd say those were 60 really hard fought miles that I went through.
So that's a win that you were able to get through 60 miles that you were essentially struggling through the entire time.
Yeah. I don't remember it. And I think maybe, and this is clearly going to sound chauvinistic and coming from the patriarchy when I say it, as our daughter likes to point out, but I think maybe trying to grind through 100 miles might be the closest that I can get to experiencing the pain of childbirth. So let's go with that. That's what I've got.
Interesting comparison.
Thank you. I don't remember how much the last one hurt.
We should ask a woman about that, like a woman that has done both, because I can't comment on that, obviously. But I think asking a woman that would be a very interesting conversation. Perfect. Yeah.
So anyway, my parallel is if you ask most women who've gone through labor how much it hurt, their recollection is not correct.
I think God does that for a reason.
Yeah. So I don't remember how much pain I was in the last one.
Yeah.
I could go back and listen to our recap episode of it.
Did you?
I did not.
Okay.
But this one, it turned south and I had more than 50% of the race left. And I knew right then, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a day.
So what do you think caused it to turn south? Do you have... Obviously, there's always multiple things that are going on, especially in that
so
distance.
Many.
Yes. So I don't want to jump into all of those yet, but what else positive can you take away from this race?
I made some friends with strangers out on the trail.
Always good for you, especially.
It is very good for
self.
Thank you. That's what I was going to say. I couldn't tell you any of their names because it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like you're just out there and everybody.
Did you tell any of them that we had a podcast?
No.
Oh man. Yeah. Kevin is definitely not the marketer in the family.
I am not. Yeah, no, I probably should have. I did not.
I'm kidding. That would be very weird.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it just naturally came up in conversation of what do you do, blah, blah, blah. Who knows what kind of conversations you can have on the trails out there.
You can have all sorts of conversations on the trails out there. And I did. I had conversations with all sorts of different people. People who I was having a chat with the guy who went off and won the race. And that happened for a little while. I was having a chat with people that were trying to make sure they finished before the 32-hour cutoff. So I was having conversations with a wide variety of people out there. There's parts on the course where it's designed that you're going in opposite directions as people. So even on loop 1, I saw people in the race because on loop 1, I was leading. So I still saw people. I thought I was lost because I was going and they were going the other direction. I'm like, this doesn't seem right, but it was. And everybody's cheering for you. I'm cheering for them. So that's always a really positive experience is there's just so much cheering and good job out there.
Yeah.
It's weird as it gets dark because there's a lot less. Everybody's going through it. Mm-hmm. And so if you get a good job or looking good, it comes, no one is running all that fast and yet it still comes panting. Good job. And it's weird because there's a lot of people that are walking and they're still panting as they say that, or you say good job and you don't get it back in response and you don't take anything from it because you're like, that person's in a place. Maybe they have headphones, they didn't even hear it, or maybe they heard it and they don't have the ability to respond.
Yeah. But isn't that a beautiful thing? I think that when we encourage other people, it often helps to bring us up a little bit too. So even if you're out there suffering, by you saying good job to somebody else, that can take your mind off your own suffering for a minute and allow you to provide a little bit of encouragement to somebody else. And I think that's such a beautiful thing. It
helped. That was one of the things that got me through many miles. Because I tried to not just do a good job, because there's a lot you can fit that in as you're jogging along. Oh, good job. Good job. And it almost becomes so repetitive that it doesn't hit. So I was trying to tell people that they were amazing.
Yeah.
So if I was running, when I had the ability to be running, I'd go between people and they'd give me like a good job. And I'd be like, you guys are amazing. And it often got back to a chuckle because like I had just passed them. And depending on where I was in the race, that might have meant that I was lapping them. And then I turned around and be like, you guys are amazing. And they were like, he's lapping us. And I'm like, no, we're all out here running 100 miles. You're amazing. And you don't have to go run 100 miles to be amazing, but sometimes people are going through it and they're not having a good patch of the race and they can briefly forget that they're amazing.
Yeah, definitely. And I love that you put that out there. That's amazing too.
It worked. It helped raise my spirits until it didn't.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into this because what happened? I know it's funny because I've had several people ask me like, how did the race go? And I'm not quite sure how to answer it because in my mind, it's amazing and you're incredible. And to be able to finish 100 miles alone is incredible. Then you finish it in 11th place. You finish it in under 20 hours. All of those things by pretty much anyone's standards are incredible, except for your own. Because I know that you were disappointed by this race. And this race definitely did not go the way that you were hoping or expecting it to. And that's really what I want to get into today because even if you're listening to this podcast and you've never run 100 miles, I'm guessing that there's going to be plenty. Actually, I know there's going to be plenty of things that you can take away from this episode and apply to your own running or your own at other areas of your life as well. Because ultimately what it comes down to is Kevin had an expectation for this race, and that expectation was not met. And when our expectations are not met, that's a difficult thing mentally.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about having different varieties of goals, having an A, B, and C goal, so that if the A goal gets out of reach, still have something.
Yeah, and last week when we talked on the pre-race episode, you said you have lots of different letters and levels of goals.
And I did. I had a lot of them. And when I started, things were feeling so good. It was chilly in the morning, and I was dressed appropriately, and I felt like I was really cruising and just jogging through that opening lap, and I was fueling well. My body was feeling good. My stomach was feeling good, and I was getting in the calories that I wanted to. Everything was still going good.
Yeah. And so that Kevin came in after 16 and a half miles because our car was just before the lap mark, like just before the start and finish line. And so he came to us when he got back to the car. He was in first place at that first loop. Then during that time that he was at our aid station, the next guy went and passed, and he like actually then quote unquote took over first place. Then you caught up to him, and then the two of you were like trading back and forth when I was looking at the different timing checkpoints on the first couple of loops. The two of you were trading back and forth, and I was super excited for you because I know you did not expect to necessarily be up at the front of the race, but ultimately I think that this kind of messed with you as well.
I think being in the front ultimately wrecked my day.
Yeah.
Because then I got into a race mentality, and then when things started going south, we'll take this conversation in two directions.
Yeah.
Like, I got into a race mentality, and then my body wasn't doing what I was hoping was going to happen. And so then it went from race mentality to this is a race and I'm having a bad race. And that just put me into a mentally really bad place.
Right.
So that was tough to dig out of.
Going into this race,
sure,
were you ever expecting to race this?
No.
Yeah. So you didn't even really prepare for a race mentality.
No.
And then you found yourself in loop one.
Right.
And the plan went out the window.
I tried so much to hold on to the plan.
But it didn't. But did you? Like genuinely. Like, what plan did you try to hold on to?
My overall pacing, making sure that I was fueling, making sure that I didn't do something stupid, try to jog as I continued to fuel and miss half of a gel, actually stop. Take the conscious walking break to make sure that the fuel was coming in, make sure that I'm stopping at the aid station to refill the bottle appropriately. Mm-hmm. If I needed to go to the bathroom, I would stop and go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
I was doing a good job of taking care of myself out on the trail.
Okay.
I was not trying to push the pace. I was like, this is what I'm doing. I happen to be in front, but don't do anything dumb and be like, ooh, let's make an aggressive move right here. No, I've got hours and hours to go. I've got dozens and dozens of miles still to go. Don't even think about what place you're in. Just make sure that you still feel very comfortable. That was the key.
Is that what you were telling yourself on the first loop or the second loop or both?
Both.
Okay.
Both. I was not planning on having to have that conversation with myself. I think that alone takes up some energy of trying to avoid a racing mentality. I've run a lot of races. It's very easy to go into a racing mentality and to try and tell myself, nope, that's not where you need your head to be today. It gets a little tricky because it's exciting to be in front.
Yeah. Because when you first came through, like, you were looking good after that first loop, and I was trying to take some video of you, and the first thing you said to me was, let's roll. It wasn't like, hey, I was like, whatever.
At the car, or you were off on the path?
I was on the path, and I just had to cross over to the car, but it was like, oh, okay, let's roll. This was what you were, I could tell, even after that first loop, that you were, like, mentally, like, you were good, but it was different. Like, it was definitely more of a, and in races past, and granted, this is only your fourth one, in races past, you have never liked to spend a lot of time at the aid station, our aid station, because there's obviously the aid stations from the race as well. I know you don't like to spend a lot of time kind of getting things going because you like to just get back out on the course. But it was just like, okay, let's go?
So part of my issue of spending too much time, and this is something that we're going to have to practice moving forward, is the longer I'm not jogging, running, the tighter my body gets. And part of that is a strength and mobility issue that we can talk about recording or not. But that's a big part of it, because if you go back to the first ultra, anytime I would sit, trying to get up out of the chair was like, okay, my legs don't even function anymore. And so then it was like, okay, so he can't sit. Let's just perch him on the back, like, ledge of the car. And that was better. And so it's the more I feel like I have to stop and not be moving at all, the more I'm like, my legs are going to seize up on me. And having the thought that my legs are going to seize up on me then naturally makes my legs seize up on me. So that's usually, it's less of a racing mentality and more of this like artifact from previous races that if I stop for too long, my legs are going to backfire.
But your legs have backfired in every single race. And so you rushing in and out hasn't worked before. And so I really think that we need to get it so that you come in every time you hit the car. And obviously this is a loop race. Who knows if you're going to do this race again in the future or what races you're going to sign up for and what that would even look like. We would have to come up with those plans. But there needs to be a little bit of mobility that's done during the race to help prevent your legs from locking up and seizing up on you like that.
Right, because that's ultimately what happens is I could keep moving. I had a good pace going for 40. Even on the fourth lap, I know we're jumping ahead, but by the end of the fourth lap where the sun started setting and the temperature was being nice again, I got a nice little rhythm back in my run. So my legs were still moving, but then after that, it just went real bad, I couldn't get recovered and make my legs do what I needed them to do.
Yeah. And it's okay that we're jumping around because I think we don't really have much of an outline. This is just us talking, like I mentioned. So we are going to be jumping around. But now that you just mentioned about like 40 miles, I think now would be a good time to talk about your training, because in last week's episode, we talked about your training and your prep for the race. And you told us that your longest run during that training was 40 miles. And we talked about how you don't go the full distance of your race and you just have to go to a certain amount and then trust the magic, and how 100 miles was so much about just continuing on and enduring. Do you think that looking back now, you would do your training a little bit differently? Do you think that you would max out higher than 40? Do you think 40 was still a good place for you? What are your thoughts on that? Have you had any time to think about that?
In terms of single long run, I don't think that I would really go more than 40. I even with the result staring me in the face, I think that's still roughly where I would be.
Do you think that your longest long run of 40 had anything to do with how long into the race it felt like before things started to go south?
More mentally than physically.
Okay.
Because once I hit that spot around 40, literally I'm just running along, and then I was like, it might be nice to, because I needed gel at that point, and so I stopped and was taking a little walking break to take down a gel, and I just didn't feel like starting up again. And all the times before, it was like, all right, take the little gel, catch your breath, relax your shoulders, and now get jogging again. And on this one, I was just like, I just want to keep on walking. And so I think it was a lot.
So this was in the third loop, somewhere in the third loop.
Yes.
Because after the second loop was around like 33 miles when you hit us, and then somewhere in the third loop.
Oh, I know right where it was. It was between group camp and the time you hit aid station 1 the second time.
Okay.
Yeah. You're just generically in the middle of woods, but I know exactly where it was. And mentally, it's like, all right, this is the furthest that I did in training. And so there is definitely something about being able to look at your watch, and you hear it in the marathon. It's the 20-mile wall. Part of that is that wall is not as much physical as it is mental.
Sure.
And we talked about this on the last one, is I was able to finish the race. Like, I had done the work physically that I could cover 100 miles. Like, I did. And if you...
And you did.
Yes.
You actually did that.
I did. I have the belt buckle to show for it. I didn't cover it as fast as I wanted. I didn't feel the way that I wanted during it. But 100 miles is really hard. I don't think that anybody runs on this particular thing. I don't think anybody was hitting their their sixth loop being like, man, everything is still feeling awesome.
Right. I don't think that's a thought.
There were a couple of people who passed me inside of the last mile. They had enough left that when it was inside the last mile, they had something left in their legs.
Yeah.
I think that they had been doing a good amount of walking also. But when it was the last mile, they were like, yes, we're doing this. The one guy was literally like war cries out there. Who's like, I'm like, okay, he's going. Good on you, buddy. Because last year there was a guy that passed me with 5 miles to go, and I tried to hang on. This year, this dude went past me, and I was like, yeah, that's awesome. I'm going to keep walking. Like I had absolutely nothing left in my legs.
Yeah.
But I did physically cover the 100 miles. And if you don't look at the splits, if you don't look at like how fast I ran the first lap versus the 6th lap, or the third one versus the 5th one, if you don't look at the numbers, you just look at the finishing time and the finishing place, it looks like a successful 100 miler.
Right.
It looks like my training managed to put me in a place to do things that a lot of people can't. And so that's great. I think when a lot of people probably don't have what 100 miles comes up with, the number that a lot of people put on it is 24 hours. People work for years to try to break 24 hours for the 100. And I ran like 1910.
1913.
There you go. But that wasn't what I wanted to. And you say, was the training enough? The training was enough to run a pretty good 100 miles time-wise. The training was not enough for the goals that I had.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Essentially, it was a mismatch of the training and the goals, because you clearly did it and you finished the 100 miles and you did it in a very respectable time and place and all of the things, like you said. But if you look at your splits throughout the race, you did the first loop in a little over 2 hours. I want to say it was like 2:10 or something like that. I can pull it up on my phone right now.
I think around 2:15.
And the last loop you did in 5 hours.
Yeah, that's a big difference there.
Yeah. Yeah, your first loop was, lap 1 was 2:12, and then your last loop was, 14:20 is when you hit lap 5, and then 19:13 was your finish time. So almost 5 hours. Yeah, 7 minutes short of 5 hours.
Yeah,
4:53.
Because a good amount of it was 20-minute pace walking.
Yeah.
It wasn't even like power walking. It was just like ambling through the woods.
Yeah. Your first 2 laps were very like on point, 2:12 and then 2:13 essentially were lap 1 and lap 2.
Yeah, and it's not like I was doing that and looking down at a heart rate that was spiking through the roof. Like, I was doing that and my heart rate was staying under 130.
Yeah, but then lap 3 was 3 hours and 7 minutes.
Yeah.
And then the next loop was 3 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I'm literally doing math as we go here.
This is really captivating.
And then 3 hours and... 38 minutes.
Yeah, and so
and then 4 hours and 53 minutes.
So that last one, lap 5 there, is basically 10-minute pace. Because I was heading off on the last one. I'm like, all right, so if I can hold 10-minute pace, then that's 3 hours and 40 minutes. And then I'll be able to get in, and I could still get in before midnight. As the day went on and the time started getting slower, it was like, okay, goal A is gone. And B's gone. And then C is gone. And the goals just kept disappearing.
And how did that feel as the goals were disappearing? Because I know last week when we were talking about this, you said you set lots of different goals and levels of goals for a reason.
Yep.
But when you're in the middle of the race and you see those goals starting to slip away, what is that?
Okay, so
or what was that like for you this time?
Goal A disappearing was fun because that was nuts. And then goal B disappearing was that's a bummer. That would have been really cool. But then they started getting back towards goals that I thought were far more based in reality. And as those started disappearing, it got more...
What were some of those goals? What were some of the goals that you remember were the hardest ones for you to let go of?
The hardest one, I really thought I was going to be able to break midnight. I thought I was going to be able to finish on the same day as the race. And I didn't think that was going to be that big of a stretch for me to do.
Okay.
And so when I started doing the math and realizing that was not going to happen, that was tough.
And midnight would have been 17 hours, right?
Yeah, midnight, 17 hours.
Okay.
And it got to a point where I was like, okay, I think I had just started lap 5. And I was like, okay, so if I can hold this pace for the next 2 laps, still be able to come in. And I forget what the pace was, but I was like, I think it was like 15-minute miles. I was like, okay, 15-minute miles. And I'm looking down, I'm like, and I was doing this little like hobble jog at the time. I'm like, and I'm probably holding like maybe 12-minute miles right now. I feel like I'm moving. I'm not moving that fast, but I feel like I'm doing okay. And I looked down at my watch. I was jogging at the time, and my watch said 16:30. I was like, oh, okay. So maybe not. Like, there was a disconnect between how fast I thought I was going, even on like where I was getting a jog rhythm going, and how fast I actually was. And it's weird because you can try and overpower a lot of your body's messages, and some of it's your body just trying to protect yourself. And so I go into this very closed up, very short stride shuffle. I have a long stride when I run. You know how I run. I have a fairly long stride. And if I could overcome the fear that I was going to fall on every single step, I could stretch out my stride a little bit. But when it gets dark, then I get a little nervous that I'm going to fall, then I'm going to step in a hole, step on a rock. And so then my stride shortens up, and then I get shuffly, and then the pace just goes sideways. And
your whole body tenses also, which is not going to help the cramping and other issues that you were having too.
And then I didn't listen to my crew chief and put on long sleeves for the last loop. And I had, to be fair, I had reasoning for it. I was hot on loop 5. Like, I was still physically warm on loop 5. And at one point I remember on loop 5, and it was dark for the entirety of that loop. Like, it wasn't dark enough that I had to put my headlamp on until mile like 3, 4, somewhere in there. But the sun was down for basically that entire loop. And I kept thinking, am I still wearing a hat? Because I feel like my head is getting so warm during this thing. And so you had asked if I wanted to put on long sleeves, long pants or whatever. And I'm like, no, I'm warm. This is good. Because it wasn't getting that cold. I don't remember what the temperature was, but it wasn't like so cold that it was going to be like, no, I have to put on long sleeves.
It was in the 50s.
But then I was doing so much walking that then I was getting physically really cold. And then when you're physically cold, you tense up.
Yeah.
And then my whole body is tensing up, which is not helping because everything was cramping on me. At that point, my calves were so tight that they were cramping periodically. And then I was just carrying so much tightness because of the cold that then like my hips started getting really sore. And I'm like, what is going on there? And I'm like, oh, because you're just squeezing everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, that last lap was, God, it was so hard.
Yeah, painful.
Yes, so physically painful. And then mentally, I'm watching goal after goal disappear.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, maybe I can get 17. Maybe I can get 18. And I didn't have a goal between 18 and 20. Like, I didn't have one. My goal was maybe I can break 18 because I didn't break 18 last time. Okay, but I didn't officially break 18 last time when I finished the race last time. And he said it at the start. He goes, the race is a little bit long because it's 100 miles through the woods, so it's 100-ish. And your watch may finish at 101 or 2, but it's over 100. And this time, I told you, I was right on, and every lap was basically 16.7. I was like, I'm going to come in just over. Last time I ran 102 miles, and I did it in 18:11 or something like that.
Yeah.
So I hit the 100-mile mark under 18 on my watch. This time I was like, I think I can do it. I think I could officially break 18. And then I started doing the math, and I'm like, okay, all I have to do is hold 13-minute miles for the last 10 miles. And then I look down and I'm doing 15. Okay, so now I have to hold, and I kept redoing the math like every mile. I'm like, okay, now I have to go this fast for the last 10K. And I'm like, okay, but I'm walking at a 20-minute mile pace. I'm not doing that. And it was really hard to mentally watch all of these goals just disappear. And I don't even have time to like process that the goal is disappearing because I'm so fixated on my entire body hurts head to toe that it's like the emotional roller coaster of those last couple of miles, last couple of miles, of those last 34 miles was brutal because there were parts where there was some joy and there was some happiness, but there was also there was sadness. There was anger. There was anger at my body not doing what it wanted to do. But then it would flip and be like pride that I hadn't quit. And then I'd take 4 more steps and be like so mad that my leg was hurting. It was such a weird combination of emotions.
Where do you think the sadness was coming from?
Watching all the goals disappear.
And what about the anger?
my body not cooperating. I have put in hours of training. I've got the little tally marks up on my classroom of how many miles I've put in since the start of school. Like, look at the bricks that I have stacked. Why is my body not doing what it's supposed to be doing? It's supposed to still be able to, at a minimum, it should be jogging along. Maybe jogging with periodic walking breaks, but it should be jogging along. And it was walking with periodic shuffle breaks. Like, it wasn't jogging anymore.
Yeah.
So, anger at my body.
So what do you think the answer is of why that happened?
Oh, my body cannot hold the pace that I was hoping for. Because it turns out that you can set really big goals and you can hope that they're going to magically work out. And you can put in training that sort of gets you there. And as you're doing that training, you can hope that training is enough. But if you don't actually put in all of the training that you need, hope doesn't achieve the magic goals.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of hope that went into the training plan.
So what do you think the training that you didn't do that you needed, what do you think that was?
Probably about 10 more pounds of muscle, quite frankly. I don't think there's a variety of things that I could suggest about.
But like right now, obviously this is the day after, because we are recording this on Monday. Kevin literally finished the race yesterday morning at 2:13 a.m.
Yeah.
So it's been a little over 36, or like 39 hours now since he crossed the finish line.
Yeah.
So these are some very raw and early thoughts. So you were saying muscle?
Yeah. I may change my mind on some things, but
Yeah.
my first thought is I think I literally need to just physically overhaul my body. My reasoning behind it is there was a stretch of the trail that when that path gets wet and trucks drive over it, it gets some like divots into it. And it's literally like, it's a dip in the path that's 4 feet deep, 4 inches deep, not 4 feet. Like it's a smooth path that has the smallest little dip into it, or like a rock that's climbing like 3 inches out of the ground. Sometimes if you're running along, even in broad daylight, you step on a rock and you just move sideways and then you just keep running. I would hit one of these little dips and it would not even at a jog, I would walk into one of these little dips and my body would go sideways and I'd have to throw my arms completely out to the side to try and balance myself because I thought I was going to crash. That's not the strength that I need if I'm going to try and actually achieve goals that are bigger. Forget the time goals. Races that I would like to complete, I'm not completing those races.
In the mountains?
Yeah. I'm not completing those races in the body that I currently have. I was struggling to go like up a curb because at the end of the race, there's a part where it goes from the trail into a little paved thing. Mm-hmm. And from the trail to the paved is maybe a 2-inch incline of pavement sitting there. I struggled to make that step down the final straightaway. I struggled to make this step, forget the final straightaway. I struggled to make that step heading into loop 6.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of miles. I can shuffle my way through. I can walk my way through flat darkness for a while, through a lot of bad thoughts and stuff. But to physically go up or down mountain, I can't do it in the body that I'm currently using. Yeah. It's not going to work.
Yeah. Or even forget mountains. Obviously, Western States is your ultimate goal, which is mountains. But even if the race was a little bit hillier, then I think it would have been much more difficult for you. Yeah.
This is going back a few years, but I remember the Keys 100 is such an absolute pancake.
Except for the bridges.
And I was okay on the bridges, but there's one spot in the middle of the 7-mile bridge, which is basically an entirely flat bridge, but there's an up and down right in the middle of it. Like most bridges gradually rise until it hits the midpoint and then gradually falls to the other side. The 7-mile bridge is basically flat, except it has this up and down right in the middle. And I was like, I don't know who put a mountain in the middle of this thing. And it's not. It's probably an incline of 20 feet. But because it's such a long bridge, instead of making the thing just so gradually climb, they put this little like bump in the middle of it. I was done. That was the spot in that race that I'm like, all right, so when I get to the car on the other side, I'm just going to get in the car. Yeah. I have to quit now. Yeah. And it was both the up and the down on that thing because what's the answer? Eccentric muscle contractions that I need to do is that you're trying to like jog down a hill. Yeah. No, I was having none of that.
Yeah. It makes me happy in a way, and I know that sounds really weird, but it makes me happy to hear you say and really acknowledge the importance of strength and mobility.
All right, I'm going to make a joke that is funny only because it's in the moment, and our people that are listening and they're still listening to me do the recap episode almost 40 minutes in, they're going to appreciate the humor to this. Everybody just heard that she thinks she is happy that I am in this much pain,
No!
and I had to slow down that much.
Oh, come on. That's not what I meant.
She is happy that I crashed and burned in the middle of the woods. That's what actually just happened here.
No, it's not. I just said, I'm happy that you acknowledge the strength and mobility. You're such a brat. But I will acknowledge, okay, so you have a lot of big feelings, obviously, about the race, too. And I also have some of my own feelings about being a crew chief in this one versus some of the other ones. And I think that I could have done a much better job as well as the crew chief in this race. I don't think that I made you do some of the things that I knew you needed to be doing. And I think I should have been a little bit more assertive. I think that you were looking really good and feeling really good on lap 1 and 2. And so I think that I stepped back a little bit, and I don't think I should have done that. I think I should have tried to be a little bit more assertive with you as the crew chief and that's always the difficult thing to know, right? That's always the hard thing of, do I push this on him? Do I hear what he has to say? Like the long sleeve thing. I asked you multiple times, I'm like, I really think you need to take long sleeves. And you're like, no, like you just kept saying no. And so that's where I'm like, okay, do I make him take it? Do I just force it on him, or do I respect him? And I obviously, you and I, and just our relationship together, we have a very respectful relationship, and I don't want to force you to do things that you don't want to do. But I wonder too if I should have forced more things on you in this race.
Yeah, that was like
making you take longer time at the car and doing some mobility and doing some of the things that I really wanted you to do.
There is a lot more conversations that have to take place before the week of the race.
Yes.
I think
I agree with that.
As crew chief, I don't think that I let you into my training enough.
I'm really glad to hear you say that and acknowledge that as well, because
no, it's a good thing it's on recording, because I'm going to forget that in a month.
I agree. And these are conversations that we've had throughout the training too. And I kept checking in with you about, hey, are you getting your strength training in? Or have you been doing it? And you're like, not as much as I should. And I'm like, Kev, we have a gym in the garage. There really is no excuse. Because before, you would do your strength training at school, and you're like, I was really good during cross-country season. And
I was.
Okay, but then there's several months after that. But you weren't very good in the summer leading up to cross-country season. So being good for the couple of months where you're not supposed to be building muscle during that time. Like, we talked to all of our clients about this, is the time to build muscle was earlier in the year.
Yeah.
Because then you go into maintenance mode as you're building mileage to train for the race.
Yeah, it seemed like it was going to be good training.
And you know what? It's funny because I did not ask you about your strength training last week on our pre-race episode. And I thought about it afterwards and thought, oh my gosh, I did not ask him about this. And now that we're talking about this, I actually think it's a really good thing that I forgot to remind you, or that I forgot to bring that up, because I wonder if that would have put like a crack in your confidence at all. I don't know. It didn't talk about it, so it's just hypothetical either way. But that's one piece of your training that did not really go well. Somewhere
on lap 3, where the girl that went off and won the race just blew past me like I was standing still, put plenty of cracks in my confidence.
Yeah.
So I watch pigtails bounce away from me. I'm like, damn.
Yeah. What is your opinion on like the crewing aspect? And I know that you're so thankful and you always are so wonderfully complimentary of us as your crew, because I'm your wife and it's your 2 daughters that are there, your 2 teenage daughters. But genuinely, like, what are your thoughts about the crew stops?
So you always think that I need to take a lot more time at the crew stops.
I don't think a lot more time, but especially on this one.
I know, but I hear you say a lot more time.
You just rush in and out. And I think that is a downside, especially when I'm watching and observing the other people in the race. And granted, the other people that I'm seeing in our parking area aren't trying to go as fast as you.
And that's a big thing, is
Correct.
That's a lot of who you have watched go through the aid stations. The parking lot that you hang out in is a lot of people, a lot of that parking lot is self-supported.
Right.
And then there's some other people, but they've got different time goals. There's a whole lot different way to go through an aid station if you're pushing to break 24 than if you're pushing to break 16.
Sure.
That is an 8-hour difference.
Yeah.
And the amount of time that you can spend at an aid station is drastically different.
Yes.
One of the people that I was out on the trail with, that was one of the pieces of advice that she had taken from other people was take your time through aid stations. Her goal was to beat 32 hours. I'm like, 100%. Take your time. Make sure that you can get up out of the aid station. I go, sitting is not always a great choice because sitting feels so much better than getting back up. Like, it's a mental hurdle to stand back up and keep going once you've sat down, especially once you've passed the halfway point. Once you're past halfway, your body is exhausted. So when you're in a chair, the mental hurdle it takes to get back up out of the chair and keep going can feel like a lot.
Yeah.
But yeah, like one of her big pieces of advice that she was told before the race even started was take your time through aid stations. And I don't think that I overdid it too much. You may disagree, but I don't think that I went too fast the first couple of times. Even on the second aid station, like coming in, I told you, I need to stop and make sure that I get some water and I eat some potato chips. I thought that was a good choice that I made.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I rushed through that aid station. Looking forward, I think that you're right. I think we need to develop some sort of mobility routine that I can do on a regular basis through the run. Whether it's at an aid station, whether it's a loop course like this, whether I just come up with some varieties of different mobility things so that if I'm going through the woods and I have a tree that I can hold on to, that's enough for me to do a mobility routine. Because by the end of it, you had suggested, I'm like, this hurts and that hurts, and I'm on the phone with you, and you're like, why don't you try some high knee marching? And I'm like, I can't lift my leg, so I think if I try high knee marching, I will fall. And I may hit my head on this rock, and I don't think I'm going to get back up. And you're like, you could try karaoke. And I laughed. That's a good one. But the idea of crossing one leg in front of the other one and not falling over just sounded ludicrous to me.
Because I think it was too late.
Oh, yeah, no. We were so far past the ability that a mobility routine was going to do anything.
It was so far away but if you were to do it throughout the race and just keep those hips open and be in different positions other than just running.
Yep.
During the entirety of like hours and hours of this race, I think that it would make a difference.
Yeah, 100%. No, by the end, because that was lap 6, I think that we were having that conversation. I may be wrong, but I think it was. I think it was lap 6. My mindset on lap 6, and you've pointed this out, there was not a lot of joy at that point. My mindset on lap 6, from basically the start to the end, was I have to get through this. I have to get to the finish line. Nothing's going to stop me. I will get to the finish line.
Yeah.
And that is not that's not an enjoyable way to be out there for 5 hours.
Yeah.
Like, just grit it and grind it is not enjoyable for 5 straight hours.
But I was also pointing out that just in general, watching you throughout the entirety of the race, there didn't seem to be the joy that I've seen from you in other races. And I wonder how much of that was because of that initial race mentality that you had going in.
Yeah, and trying to...
or something else.
Trying to flip out of the race mentality.
Yeah.
I mean, I think once... I don't know. Because there were time goals that I had, and then there was this new unique thing that showed up of, hey, you're actually towards the front of the race.
Yeah.
There was a guy at Aid Station 2, and he's great, like really great. But he said on one of the loops, he goes, you're on the podium right now. You just have to hold on to it. And I joked back to him. I'm like, darn, there is no podium. We cross the finish line, we get a belt buckle, and we get back into our cars. And he laughed. Like, we were joking at that point in time. So, like, I did have jokes, not have shared them with you when we got back to the car, but, like, I did have some stuff. But just little comments like that are in your head. Tough to not think about your place when people are telling you your place.
Yeah.
And I needed to just let that thing go. I needed to get so much... I would have been a lot better even focusing on the time goals and watching the time goals disappear and not worry at all about what position I was in. And there were times where I was fine with what position I was in, especially as the race started like going further. And I was like, all right, anybody that catches me, they're going to go past me and I have nothing left to try and hang on to them with. So I will finish in whatever place I finish with.
Yeah, if anyone was tracking you, they would see that you started the last loop in 4th place.
Yeah.
And then you ended in 11th.
Yeah.
So it was that last loop that...
Yeah, that last loop was...
Yeah.
did not go smooth. Because once you hit that last loop, if you've got anything left, you're like, oh, thank goodness it's the last loop. And
But you also don't have any idea how anybody else is doing.
but if anybody was feeling better than death, they had a slight advantage over me.
They were probably a leg up on you.
They were multiple legs up on me.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is I didn't have the fun to me. Like when I was hitting aid stations, one, I just wasn't super happy with the one aid station. They were just annoying to me. The second aid station was fine.
I hope that none of them are listening to this.
I know. And it's not them either, because it's not like you guys were different.
No.
Like I was just grumpy.
Yeah.
For a lot
That's
of...
true, right? It was just your perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the aid station.
Nothing was wrong with them.
No.
Yeah.
They had Christmas lights coming in and out of the aid station, and the music was going, and people are like cooking soup and making hot. All the things are happening.
Yeah.
Like the aid
But
station.
you were coming in like a grump.
Yes. So it doesn't really matter who's happening. In fact, probably the more fun they were having, the more I was like, this aid station sucks.
Yeah, the probably more it annoyed you.
I hate all of you. Like that, they may have been having a blast. Last year, I was having a blast with them.
Yeah.
Even when I was physically sore, I was having a blast with. I was having fun with their fun. And this year, they were having fun, and I was like, "Why are you having fun?
Yeah.
This is not a fun experience."
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I saw a lot more of that joy, not that you were necessarily enjoying feeling, because last year you struggled also. I think there's always going to be struggle in 100 miles, but last year you struggled also, especially in that last loop. But I just saw, it was just like a different mindset for you this year, is what it looked like from my perspective.
Yes, well, that's a big takeaway. Is I needed a more fun mindset. I think music would have helped with me on that one, which is my other takeaway, is I need to figure out a better way to do music, because the headphones I have hurt after a while, and then I can't have them anymore. And
So we need like multiple different types of headphones,
yeah,
maybe?
I don't know, because what I've got is
Yeah.
gets painful. Fueling, I think trying some more varieties of options. You were always all about real food. Real food has positives and negatives.
Yes, there's positives and negatives of all of it.
Positives and negatives also that vary based off the temperature. There's stuff, mashed potatoes
True.
on lap 5 was like, oh, this sounds fantastic. It was like a warm cup of mashed potatoes.
Yeah, because it was
Mashed
cooling down.
Mashed potatoes on lap 3, I think I would have punched somebody. Oh,
Yeah,
are
when
you,
it was hot.
Are you struggling? Why don't you try these mashed potatoes? Oh, no, absolutely not happening on that
Yeah,
one.
true.
So it's not that like this food is going to work. It's that this food is going to work in the early evening hours.
Yeah. So maybe we just need to do a better job planning that way as well. This is going to be really good for you in the morning, have some ideas for the afternoon, and then in the evening, especially if it gets cooler,
Yeah.
then we change our fueling plan throughout.
Yes. So a variety of fuels.
Yeah. And
Whereas
I mean,
I went in with a pretty strict idea of what I wanted to eat.
And I think that also this goes back to training and you and I having more conversations during the entirety of training, not just like the last week coming into it, of checking in as if I am your coach, or you're essentially self-coached, but I'm one of your coaches as well. Not you're the primary coach. We're the coaching staff, I would say, right? Together.
There you go.
But we need to have more coaching staff conversations throughout your training to see how it's going, because I feel like you just do your thing a lot of times and I'm just in the dark. I don't really know how things are going for you, and I think that is also a problem, because especially when it gets to this point of the race, I don't know necessarily how to support you in the best way, because we haven't been having these conversations throughout.
Yeah. So you're then operating as crew chief, but flying blind, because you're like, I don't know what he needs in this position. I haven't had the conversation about what works and doesn't work in this position.
Because I think too, we need to like practice that on your longer runs. Also, a lot of times, and this is one of the things that our listeners may or may not know about you, is you don't like to bother other people. You don't like to be an inconvenience, and you like to just fly under the radar a lot of times. And this is not one of those things that you can do that allows you to fly under the radar. You have to take more time for yourself. You have to inconvenience people. Like, it's not even an inconvenience, like in your mind, I say this, right? Because like you have to involve other people like me, like the girls, like the people that are going to be involved in this process. It's not an inconvenience for us. And I really want you to hear me say that and have it also on recording. So maybe you need to listen to this again.
There's a few things that
Right?
we've hit on the recording that will be helpful.
Because it's not an inconvenience. Like, I'm in this with you, and a lot of times when you go out on your runs, like I don't even know necessarily. There was one weekend that you were doing things and I didn't even know that you were going out on like double 20s or you were doing some crazy thing. And it's because you get up in the morning because you don't want to
take
20s up family time or whatever it is. So you go out early. You want to be back and done and so before anybody else is awake so that we could just go to church and go about our day as if that never happened.
Yeah. So a 40 miler has to involve, I can't hide a 40 miler.
You can't hide it, but you also did it completely self-supported.
Yes. But I can do that because I loop and I get back to the house and that's fine. I can do a 40, but everybody's going to be up in the middle of that because that's going to take, we figured out in the last one, it took me a little over 5 hours. To do a 20 miler, if I wake up early enough, I'll be back essentially when you get back from walking the dog, and the girls may or may not even be awake at that point in time. And so I've essentially finished my whole workout before the majority of the day has started going. So to do a double 20 just means that I'm doing that on back-to-back days, which does not really hinder what anybody else wants to do or not do.
Right.
Yeah, that's how I can do double 20s without anybody noticing.
But we need to notice is what I'm saying. Like I'm saying that this needs to be like, this is a family affair. It is a family affair when we go to the races. So it needs to be a family affair in the training parts of it too, not maybe every single day, but on some of those bigger days. And I have some ideas for your training too, like with a lot of your 40 milers start first thing in the morning, and the beginning of the races are always good for you. It's the end that we need to work on. It's those later parts of the race that we need to work on. So maybe the longer runs need to be at the end of the day, and practicing more of that, and practicing getting in mobility in the middle of these runs as well.
Figuring out how to get in mobility in the middle of those runs, I think would be a great move.
Yeah.
I was actually really proud of myself of how I ran during dusk, because that often is mentally brutal, because you start before the sun gets up. And then you're out there running for the entirety of the day and the sun starts setting and it mentally hits you of, wow, I'm running for all of the sun and for that like next hour and a half when it first started getting dark, like as it was reaching dusk, not before it got dark, but during dusk, I was still doing great mentally, which that was a big win.
Yeah. I remember you saying in the past that dusk is kind of a tough time mentally.
Yeah. So I was really proud of how I ran that portion of it.
So what else do you have in your little notebook over there of like little takeaways? Anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to mention?
I think we've gone through most of my notes. They're incoherent ramblings. If anybody could actually see them, they are.
Yeah.
They don't look great, but I think we've covered them, most of them.
So the big takeaways, what would you say are some of the big takeaways now after we've had some time to talk through them?
Figure out how to put mobility into really long runs so that I can put mobility into really long races.
How much mobility do you do outside of your running right now?
I have a simple mobility routine that I do.
Daily before every run?
No.
Okay.
No, I used to. I think if I maintained the mobility routine I had post like hernia surgery, I would probably be in a better shape.
You stopped doing that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that you still did that.
Interesting.
Okay. Yep. See, these are the conversations that we should be having, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would probably be good.
Yeah, you had your little band routine that you did.
Yeah, I had a whole little routine. That would probably be great. And it's very minor strength also, which
it's both.
I needed massive overhaul in strength. And this was, you like the metaphor of like when you don't get the message from a pebble, then it gets to be a rock and then it gets to be a boulder. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was pretty boulderish of that 5 hours on the last loop.
Feels like a boulder.
Yeah. Because look, I know the physical bodies that were passing me in the last few miles too. Like those dudes are stronger than I am.
Yeah. Like the amount of muscle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beyond the fact that I couldn't move at that point in time, if we'd been at the starting line and both fresh and it was like, all right, you two wrestle and somebody gets the belt buckle, like they would have crushed me. These were stronger people than I was.
I think that ultra running in general just requires a lot more strength.
Oh, so that's cool. I'll look bigger and stronger.
And be bigger and stronger, not just look it.
Yeah, but that's also sometimes.
Hallelujah! I've been trying to since the keys. Remember when I bought that like mass gainer for you?
Yep.
to help you try to gain weight before the Keys 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. We've been trying.
You've been fighting it for years.
I know. Yeah, maybe I'll adopt this. We'll see.
Not because of the way you look. I love the way you look, but just because of what you want to do, what your goals are.
I know.
Yeah.
But selfishly, it'd be nice to look stronger also.
I always like having more muscle on my body too.
Right.
So I understand.
I think we have a lot of people that...
I just don't want you to think that I need anything more than
I know.
what you've
I
got
was
right
listening
here.
very careful to see if I could point anything else out that you accidentally said.
I've been very careful with my word choice. You are wonderful the way you are, and I will also like you with more muscle. And and a big part of that is because of it's going to, I know as a physical therapist, obviously I am not an ultra runner. I have never run more than 15 miles. 15 miles is my longest one-time run, and that is okay. So I don't know what that's like to actually go through that and endure that myself. But with all of my science and medical knowledge, I know that you are going to feel better and perform better if you have more muscle.
Yeah, no, it was that... I don't know, lap 5 or 6, somewhere in there.
Your body
was like,
just shut down on you.
Literally, I stepped on a rock, and I think the rock was not even raised out of the thing, but I stepped on a rock and almost fell over, and leg is cramping. I'm like, I can't run Western States. It was
like hit you.
Blatantly obvious that I'm like, you can't even possibly complete the thing that you want to complete. The reason you're doing this race is to get a lottery ticket into a race that right now you wouldn't be able to get to the finish line of. Like, oh, and you have gently made suggestions to that, very gently, very well stated suggestions to that effect, and I have ignored them. And I have pretended to not hear them. And it was abundantly clear. And I think it's good that we're recording so close to it, because there were a lot of things that came out and they were very stark and they were very clear that I am just simply not strong enough. And ultimately, that's going to make me healthier for the next decades. Getting stronger now is going to make me a much healthier person 20, 30, 40 years from now. So that's an awesome win.
Yes.
But I can't cross the finish line and get the belt buckle that I want in the state that I currently am in, or the state that I was in like 2 days ago. Right now...
Right now is a different story.
Right now, I can hardly move. No, actually, I'm moving pretty well.
I think you're moving pretty well today.
And which I think is predominantly a testament to my fueling. I think even when things got dark, even when I was like, you know what, I could just take a nap on the side of the path, I was still taking in the calories that I needed to take in. We can discuss my various nutrition needs, but I was still forcing calories upon myself, even in my state of like sadness and anger.
Yeah.
Like sad and angry, and my hands were so sticky, and I'm like, and I need to take another gel right now. Otherwise, I won't be able to take more steps.
Yeah.
So I still did it. I forced it upon myself, which I was proud of that too.
That is definitely a win. Talk about Hallelujah anyway, because I know that this is really one of your personal mottos that you had shared with me during the race. And this was the song that I put on the recap photo post that I posted up today. Talk to me a little bit about your mindset and the Hallelujah anyway.
That's how I flipped the goals disappearing.
And when did that happen?
I think the sun was still up at the time. So lap 4, it might have been lap 5. Honestly, it all blurs together. Even when I write down thoughts like the next day, it all just blurs together. Yeah. Like I started.
It's Blur's Day.
Smooth for 40 miles and so hard for 60.
Yeah.
But it was a way to take like the sadness away from the goals disappearing, because I love that song.
In case anybody's not familiar with it, it's a song by Rend Collective. It's an awesome song. And
the lines, and I'm not at all going to attempt to sing, but the line is, even if, and it's all, even if the breakthrough never comes, even if I don't get this, even if I don't get that, even if this doesn't happen, hallelujah anyway. And the whole setup is, I flipped it to my even if 16, even if 1640, even if, and the goals were just slipping away from me.
Yeah.
Hallelujah anyway, because I'm still out here doing the thing. It takes me all the way back to 2017, the year I had 3 seizures, the year that I wasn't sure if I was going to be able to still run, if I was going to be able to still compete. Maybe I could run, but I couldn't do anything that was going to be like harder, more physically challenging, more difficult. Could I push myself? Like, I wasn't sure. doctors weren't sure. No one really knew what the cause was, so no one knew what the answer was. So yeah, everything hurts. Everything's painful, and the times are slipping away, but I'm still out here. I'm still out here competing. I'm still here. Hallelujah anyway. And that got me through. That got me through a lot of the dark part. There's a few songs, and this is why I said that we got to come up with a better way of getting the music, because I had so many good songs on my playlist.
Yeah, we put a good playlist together.
The playlist was phenomenal, and there are other people in the race. And look, God bless them all. They're all amazing people. They're all phenomenal. We've covered this already. I think it's annoying to be playing music out of your phone as you go
without
headphones. Without headphones.
Yeah.
I just think that's annoying. So I was not going to do it. But then I didn't have music that could brighten me for the last 34 miles. And that would have helped. I don't think I could have gone any faster, but it certainly would have helped my mindset.
Yeah, and I think that's such a beautiful mindset to take in, because there are plenty of times in running and in life when things don't go our way. And if we can see that we're doing it anyway and be joyful in the process, that's such a blessing.
And I love running.
Yeah.
And you've said it a couple of times in this podcast, and not incorrectly, there was not as much joy in this 100 as there has been in previous. There was pain in previous ones.
Yeah.
But I think I kept trying to fall back on joy.
Yeah.
And this one, I fell back on endure and get through it. And it would have been nicer to fall back on other things. When I crossed the finish line, you're like, are you so proud of yourself? I'm like, I made it. That wasn't what I had last time.
Yeah.
I had a bigger, happier smile this time. I had a happy smile this time. I was happy that I was done with it. And last time
it was a different happiness behind the smile.
Yeah, that was the thing. It got dark out there, especially on that last lap. It got dark.
So yesterday we went to bed at around 4:15. We woke up around 9:30, and you looked over at me. I saw you look at me, and my eyes were open. And you're like, I'm hungry. I want to go downstairs for the hotel breakfast, because the hotel breakfast ended at 10. And so we did. I'm like, all right, let's go. Come on, we'll go get some food. I had gotten us a late checkout, so we didn't have to be out of the hotel till 1, which was great. And I said, we'll go get some food and we'll come back up and go back to sleep. So we did. And when Kevin and I were sitting there at breakfast, I said, what are some of your immediate thoughts?
So when those were raw.
Yeah. So when we were sitting there, it was 10 a.m. You had finished the race less than 8 hours before that.
Yeah, right? You want raw thoughts.
And Kevin looked at me and said, with almost tears in his eyes, this is dumb. I'm not that good at it, and I should stop doing this. Those were your 3 things that you said. And I wrote them down because I wanted to capture that and ask you about that.
Yeah. Those thoughts were on repeat. I don't think I got to them until lap 6. You went through my times of all my laps.
Yeah.
I was doing okay until I got to that lap 6. And lap 6, I was running at 16 to 17 minute pace, and I was walking at 20 to 22 minute pace.
Yeah.
It was not quick.
It was rough. And that is fine for some people, but that is so much slower than what you are capable of. And I think that's important for us to point out, right? Because I don't want anyone to ever feel bad about their paces, because sometimes we hear very fast people like you. I am not as fast as Kevin, so I understand this very much. When we hear people talk about, how slow I was, and you're like, oh God, give me a break. But in comparison to, he was holding sub 8 minute pace for the first loop and for the second loop too.
Yep.
So in comparison to that, we're talking, this is a much slower pace. So take whatever it is that you normally run. If you're a runner out there and you're running 10 minute pace, and that's your normal comfortable pace, and then essentially triple it. Double, and triple it, right?
Yeah. Because my 8 minute pace went to 16 minute pace.
But your walking pace then was around 22, you said.
Yes.
So that's almost triple.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was about as fast as I could walk. I was trying to even be maybe I can power walk this stretch. And I could power walk for a little bit. And then I glanced at my watch. I'm power walking at 17:30,
Yeah.
and my heart rate was spiking on me. What is wrong with my body? And having the thought of what is wrong with my body is not good.
No.
It led to
The answer is I'm running 100 miles.
But that was never the answer that I gave myself. The answer was, it's breaking. The wheels are falling off.
Yeah, you said that to me on the phone one time, and I was like, whoa, you got to get rid of that one.
Yeah,
You're
no.
like, everything's falling apart. My body's falling apart.
Yeah.
Everything's just going to crap.
Yeah, that's because
whoa.
I don't think at the time I could have said out loud what I told you the next morning. I think if I had out loud said, this is stupid and I'm not good at it, I don't know if I would have made it to the finish line.
Yeah.
I had the thought a lot, and I kept trying to flip it to Alleluia anyway. There's a few other songs that I really love. I have to give up my ego.
Yes, that's No Survivors.
No Survivors
Yeah,
is
that's
a great one. My ego, my pride, burn it all. There's No Survivors. And yeah, that helped me. And it helped me for a minute. And then...
Yeah, those other thoughts, they're loud and they're intrusive.
That's the thing, is that they're always there.
Yeah.
And there was nothing to distract. We should put up... It's not good video, but you should post the video that I took of mile, I think it was 88.
Yeah.
Of what my view was at mile 88. Because it's a headlamp and you can see about 4 feet in front of you on the path. And if you look to the side, you're going to trip.
Yeah.
Because you're not illuminating the woods. You're illuminating 4 feet in front of you. So that is, the entire race is now no longer a beautiful park. I can't take in the stars above me because there was no moon. So there was no ambient light at all. So if I looked away, I would have tripped, or I would have missed a turn on the path. That's actually probably how I got lost, is I probably missed a turn somewhere in there. But all the trails loop back on themselves, so I eventually made it. And I saw people in front of me, so I think they also missed the turn. Somehow that happened on the last loop. But it was some bad thoughts of, this is dumb. I've had this is dumb before. And you laugh because you're like, of course it's dumb. We're all out here running 100 miles. Then you make a joke with the next person coming up. And I'm like, I'm doing something stupid. How are you doing? And like, you joke about it. And I didn't have that joke in me.
Yeah.
I went from this is dumb to this is dumb, I'm dumb, and I'm bad at it, and I should stop and quit, and I should never do this again.
And I'm pulling my family down with me.
Yes.
And that was the other one that
it just kept going. I was going
you were spiraling.
It was such a terrible spiral. There was no like flip it into something silly, because yes, of course this is dumb. It's 100 miles. That's dumb.
Yeah.
That's dumb.
Yeah.
Like Western States, the race I want to do, that's dumb. You know what race that was? That was a horse race. They needed to take the horses from point A to point B, and they thought, hey, we'll make it a competition of who can get the horses fastest from point A to point B. And the one year, the guy's horse got sick or hurt or something, and it couldn't get from point A to point B. And he said, oh, I'll do it. And he went from point A to point B. And then that became the competition.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's stupid.
Yeah, it started out with an actual point of moving the horses from where they needed to go.
And there's still a horse race. I think it takes place the week after or the week before. But the whole idea of just, we're going to go out to the woods and we're going to loop this thing. It's kind of more of a figure eight. We're going to figure eight this thing for hours on end. It's silly.
Yeah.
But my brain couldn't flip it to it's silly. It spiraled it to it's bad. And yeah, it was so hard.
So what do you think about it now?
That's one of the things, like when you were asking me the finish line, are you proud of yourself? Because I think that you wanted me to be able to honestly say yes. And I am really proud that I didn't quit. With as bad and dark as things got, I'm really proud that I didn't quit. That's where my pride was. In other races, I had different things to be proud of.
Yeah.
And I'm not proud of the fact that it got so dark, because that was silly, because it's silly. And I just needed more reminders of that.
Yeah, but maybe that's the lesson that you needed from this race.
Yeah, quite possibly.
One of the lessons.
One of several lessons.
Yeah.
I think
in addition to being jacked.
We're going to have to do transition photos.
Getting jacked.
I'm going to get jacked.
Yes.
Remember when I got jacked when we first had Riley?
P90X?
Yes. I got jacked. I'm going to go back to that.
You're going to go back to that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll do some transition photos, some
Perfect.
before and afters, or some durings.
Those like ridiculous pull-ups that I was doing. Yeah, we're going to do that again.
But like I said, maybe that is part of the lesson. And to let you know, and part of the experience, I always love the saying, you either get the result that you want or the lesson that you need. And maybe one of the big lessons you needed from this race was that you can go into a really dark place and get out of it and keep going. Or maybe it's not that you got out of it. Maybe that you went into that dark place and it didn't stop you.
Yeah. The dark place didn't stop me, but also I don't need to go to that really dark place. Like in a race like this, yeah, there's going to be downtimes, but trying to flip it and make it silly is going to be more enjoyable. Maybe don't wear my like hardcore race shorts. What if I put the flamingos on instead? What if I had that mentality from the gun? That when I took off my racing pants, because I only have one pair of racing pants, because as we already covered, I don't like to buy things for myself. So those are black. But when those came off, if the flamingos came out instead of my like dark blue shorts, like,
yeah, if you had some fun racing shorts,
yeah, would that have changed the day? Who knows? But
it would have been a conversation piece, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think the silliness would have.
Yeah.
I think the silliness needs to stay a whole lot more at the forefront moving forward.
I love that so much because
and getting jacked.
And getting jacked. A jacked silly man. Silly jacked man. But it's when you're silly, that's when so much of your wonderful personality is able to come out. Like even with our girls, like sometimes when you're just silly, like the amount of joy that you bring to everyone around you, to our family, to our girls, to yourself, when you are that silly version of yourself is really incredible.
That's why I danced at the end of lap 5 in the headlights of the car.
Yeah, which was awesome. And the girls loved that.
Yeah, because I forced them to hang out for hours and hours in the middle of the woods with poor connectivity. Yeah. So that's not helping anything.
No.
And you don't even tell me most of the stories. You tell me almost none of the stories, because otherwise I would probably never run another one of these races. Because
you would feel bad that we were going through whatever we're going through, but that's just part of the process that I've accepted as well. Because just for those of you out there that are so wonderful and say, oh my gosh, Angie, you and the girls are such an amazing support crew. Yes. And they're teenagers. So don't forget that as well. And they are sisters that fight. And so I don't want to portray a lack of reality of everything was just so wonderful and magical. And the girls, everybody was so wonderful. It was great overall. Right? Overall, it was great, but there was definitely moments, the same way that Kevin had highs and lows. There's also those highs and lows and annoyances as the crew chief and as being part of the crew too.
Yeah.
And like one of my big fails, all that I haven't even admitted yet on the podcast, is that I wasn't even there when Kevin finished his fourth loop. I had gone to the bathroom, so I wasn't even at the car. I had timed it wrong, and I was actually off trying to film a video for social media, and that was what was taking me so long. I don't even know if I told you that, but
yeah, I saw you and our younger one. I saw you on the little path heading back towards the car, and then you stopped and were taking pictures.
Right.
And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna start going again.
Yeah.
And I had
no idea.
I was in a good mood at that time, and as soon as I showed up, our older one texted you, but there's no reception, so you didn't get that text until I had already taken off.
Yeah, and I felt so bad and so guilty that I wasn't there, and I felt like I had totally failed you, and that's 100% on me. And like my brain automatically wanted to go to, why didn't you call me? Why didn't you, Riley, why didn't she call me? And none of that is not her fault at all. 100% totally on me.
But we have no idea what would have happened if you were there.
Yeah.
We don't have any idea if...
No, and obviously that's the way it was supposed to happen. Like that, because that's what happened.
It's what it is.
So that's what was supposed to happen.
Yeah, so we're not dwelling on that at all.
Yeah.
We're just not.
Yeah.
I got the fuel that I needed and I headed back out, and it's what it was. Mm-hmm. The only thing that I really wish that I had done on that one is I wish that I had brought headphones, because I had planned. I was like, I'll get headphones for lap 5, and then they'll hurt by the end of lap 5, and I'll be able to get through lap 6. Mm-hmm. And I didn't have headphones, and then I didn't want headphones on the last lap because it was so pitch black, and so I'm like, I've got to be able to focus.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Kev, this is obviously a lot longer than any of our normal episodes. We're almost double now, but thank you to all of you that are still listening. Maybe you're listening to this in 2 different parts and 2 different runs, and that's totally okay too. But any final thoughts right now? So where are you on those last couple of thoughts that we just talked about now? That this is dumb, I'm not that good at it. Like, do you still feel that way now?
Oh no, this is still dumb.
Oh. What about I'm not that good at it?
But this is dumb, but in a silly way, and that's fine. I totally accept that this is dumb. Most people doing it.
Yeah.
Even the people who are like elite and winning things, like winning major races, they do this for a living. I think that you can only do this for a living because you accept it's ludicrous. You have to hold that just a little bit.
Yeah. Do you think you're not good at it?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
You literally were in 11th place overall this year, 6th place overall last year.
Yeah.
Like, you are good at this. The numbers say differently.
And
anyone looking at this objectively would say differently.
Yeah, I'm okay at this.
Okay. You can get to that point today?
Yeah.
Okay. I think you're pretty darn good at it. And I also think you can get better based on the things that we discussed.
I'll give you this. I'm not bad at this.
Okay.
And there's some growth that needs to be done.
Okay.
Of muscle.
Getting jacked. So that's the takeaway. All right, you guys. Any other final thoughts?
I think that's a lot of sharing.
A lot of sharing. Thank you, Kevin. I just want to acknowledge you for your vulnerability and sharing this very raw recap of this. I think it's going to be helpful for our listeners and letting them see the real side of this, because on social media, you guys could see some of my updates, but it wasn't really giving you the full picture. And when we're out there, it's real and it's raw and it's dark and sometimes it's light and sometimes it's really boring too as a crew chief. I'll tell you that too. Like sometimes I was just sitting there, this is boring. So I was like reading some of the time. I was trying to make videos, but the service was terrible. But it's a whole mix of emotions. And I know that I went through a roller coaster of emotions. So I can only imagine how much more, of a roller coaster you went through as well with everything that you were going through. Because I was not in any physical pain.
That's the thing. It's the same roller coaster of emotions, but I'm also in absolute exhaustion and physical pain. Yeah,
which makes your mind completely unable to deal with it.
Yeah, it's neat.
Yeah, it's tough that way. All right, you guys. Thanks for being with us. Thank you for following along, for being a part of this. I hope this episode was helpful. If it was, share it with another crazy runner that you might know that runs 100 milers as well, so that person knows that they're not alone either.
Or just stick with us and we'll get back to regular schedule programming. But also stay tuned because I'll probably do something else stupid in the future.
So there you go. That answers that third point. No, I should stop doing this. Clearly, you're not going to stop.
No, I'm not stopping doing this.
There we go. All right, you guys. Thanks for being with us. This has been the Real Life Runners Podcast, episode number 445. Now get out there and run your life.